Good morning, everyone. Sexual preference is now considered an offensive term. We learned this recently while watching Democratic Senator of Hawaii, Mazie Hirono, lecture Amy Coney Barrett on her use of offensive, bigoted language.
Not once, but twice, you use the term sexual preference to describe those in the LGBTQ community. And let me make clear, sexual preference is an offensive and outdated term.
And the second point was to say that I certainly didn't mean and, would never mean to use a term that would cause any offense in the LGBTQ community. So if I did, I greatly apologize for that. I simply meant to be referring to Obergefell's holding with respect to same-sex marriage.
I hope you're taking notes as to not use such bigoted, offensive language, such as using terms like sexual preference. And surely presidential candidate Joe Biden would be up to speed on this, right? I mean, he would never use the term sexual preference. After all, that would make him a huge bigot if he did, right?
Regardless of color, sexual preference, their backgrounds.
Because the president has become so divisive in terms of everything he's done, based on race, sexual preference, just across the board.
I did not think we should discriminate against people based on their sexual preference.
Allowing anyone to be in the military regardless of their sexual orientation or preference.
Wow. Where's Mazie Hirono to lecture Joe Biden on his use of this insensitive, inflammatory, offensive language, using the term sexual preference over and over again? But it gets even better. Merriam-Webster Dictionary, which has been around for 189 years, which has had the same definition for sexual preference for decades now, changed the definition of preference hours after Mazie Hirono lectured Amy Coney Barrett on how offensive the term sexual preference was. So let's take a look. This was the old definition right here. So the old definition stated that preference was the act of preferring, the state of being preferred, the power of opportunity of choosing, one that is preferred, the act, fact, or principle of giving advantages to some over others, priority in right to demand and receive satisfaction of an obligation. That was the old definition. Absolutely no indication that the term preference is considered offensive. But guess what? Hours after the story broke, let's take a look at the new definition that Merriam-Webster updated us all with to let us know that this term is now very offensive. So the new definition right here. The act of preferring, state of being preferred, the power or opportunity of choosing. So a lot of these are the same, but let's go all the way down to the bottom. Let's look at number 5 right here. Offensive. See usage, paragraph below. Orientation. So the term orientation is now preferred to sexual preference. Who would have known? Merriam-Webster let us all know that now when Democrats say, look, sexual preference is considered offensive, and you go, says who? Well, says Merriam-Webster, because now the Democrats and their allies, in addition to the mainstream media, in addition to all the tech oligarchs, in addition to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, now also have Merriam-Webster basically echoing whatever they say. So if they deem a term offensive, Merriam-Webster will oblige and immediately update that terminology on their website. So now the Democrats can say, look at what the dictionary says. And there you have it. This is how crooked, this is how ridiculous all of this has gotten. Merriam-Webster is now in bed with the Democrats and will update definitions so that way you can basically say that any word means anything because you have companies like Merriam-Webster that will back up Democrats and allow them to change the definition of words on complete whims. That's my video. Hope you like it. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, and I will see you all next time.